Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome everyone to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. Why should someone start to believe in God? There's a lot of reasons to believe in God. The first reason is God exists. So our choice of believing or not believing doesn't change the nature of God's existence or God's presence. All it does is limit us. For example, let's say I decide I don't believe in gravity. Okay. I know this Newton guy said it exists, but I just don't believe it. Well, that's my prerogative not to believe it. No problem, nobody should be able to throw me in jail for not believing in gravity. But if I walk off of a building, I'm going to fall to the ground, whether I believe in gravity or not. The law of gravity exists. I can choose not to believe in it, at which point it's very likely that I'm going to spend a lot of my time falling down, or having things that I care about fall down, putting very fragile, expensive items up on, the very, very edge of a top shelf in a place that gets knocked around a lot, and then they fall and they break. So, when you think about believing in God, sure, we can say, I don't believe God exists. Okay. It's all right. I don't believe anyone should be thrown in jail or persecuted for believing that or discriminated against. But we end up losing. Because when we move through the world not believing in God, then the very truth of existence ends up unavailable for us. Like when we don't believe in gravity, we lose the ability to take care of our own selves, of things that we care about. If we don't believe in God, we lose the ability to access that truth, that higher truth of who we are and what we're here for. So we believe in God, first of all, because God exists, and as long as we are committed to truth, to say we don't believe in something that exists is to separate ourselves from truth. We also believe in God because through the belief in God, it helps us understand who we are. See, if we simply say, you are divine, you are holy, you are full, you are complete, you are divine, you are one with all. Well, that only makes sense if there is a creator of the creation. We are divine because, not because every one of us individually, as a totally separate, random creation, happens to be this thing called divine that doesn't actually have any foundation. We are divine, meaning the Creator is divine, that capital C Creator, God, by any name, any form, is divine. And the creation has been created not just by the Creator, but of the Creator. And when we've been created of divinity, then by nature, by rule, the core of who we are is divine. It's like saying, do you have to believe in the ocean? Like, let's imagine you're a drop of water. And one drop of water says to the other drop, I don't believe in the ocean. Okay. But then every aspect of your life no longer makes sense. Where did you come from? How did you become a drop of water out of the blue? Well, water is evaporated from the ocean by the sun. Then it gets carried on the clouds, and ultimately it gets dropped as rain or condensation. That's how we end up with drops of water on leaves, on grass, going into rivers. But if there is no ocean, then the existence and the nature of the drop becomes questionable. So if we don't believe in God, then our own truth becomes questionable. Then how are we divine? Where did we come from? And in order to know that you are divine, that you're not just your body, you don't have to believe in God for that. That's an experiential awareness that we develop through practices of meditation, through practices of awareness, through practices of expanding our consciousness. And the minute that we realize I'm not the body, that I am this something else, whether we say soul or spirit or consciousness or love or truth or divinity, whatever word we say, all of those words mean there's something other than just physical bodies. But if there's no God, then what does spirit mean? What do we mean by spirit? Well, what we mean by spirit is that divine essence. What do we mean by soul then? If there is no God, then what are souls? Where'd they come from? Where are they going? Soul has a meaning because of the existence of the divine presence, of which the souls have arisen, like waves arise out of the ocean. If you don't have an ocean, or you say, I don't believe in the ocean, then how do you get a wave? Where'd that come from? And so if we don't believe in God, then we lose the very grounding of our own existence, of the truth of who we are. So you don't have to necessarily believe in God in a particular form or by a particular name. But you need to understand that you are not just your physical body. That you're not just the number of years that this body has been in existence. That you're not just the bones and the muscles and the skin and the chemicals and electricity that we call thoughts and emotions. And when we realize that we're not that, then the answer to who we are exists in the awareness of that something else, that capital S something else. And again, it doesn't matter what you call it. Call it source. Call it supreme reality. Call it truth. Call it love. Call it infinite energy. But aware infinite energy. Call it whatever you want. But we have to accept its existence. in order to even begin to know who we might be. It would be like saying, I don't believe in my mother. Well, if you don't believe in your mother, where exactly did you come from? How did you get here? And in the same way that we believe in our physical mothers because we understand if I didn't have a physical mother, I couldn't exist. Everybody has different relationships with their mother. We're not saying your relationship must be like this or you must call her that. Engage with her like this. Those are different relationships. But you have to at least believe that you have a mother. Otherwise, you couldn't exist. And in the same way, if we don't believe in God, then we can't exist. Then all we are is the physical body that was pushed out of a womb. And we know that's not who we are, or it's not all of who we are. So the reason we believe in God is the same reason we believe in our mothers, because we know they exist, we know it's true. And the way that we know it exists, if we don't have any other way of knowing, is that we exist. And as long as we exist, well then, you can be pretty sure you had a mother and a father. And you can be pretty sure there's God. The mother and the father explain the color of your eyes and the color of your hair and your approximate body shape and maybe some temperament or talents. And God explains that really which you are, that isn't the body.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. Negative patterns of thought, it's important to realize it is just a habit. That's all it is. We tend to take these patterns very seriously. Oh, I'm having a negative thought. Cello, let me stop everything. Think about it. Work my way through it. Really dive into the negativity. Well, if you have the same negative thought over and over and over again, yeah, it's helpful to look at what that might be coming from. Why that particular type of thought? If you find that you're always jealous, or that you are always judgmental, or that you're always discriminating, okay. It's good. Let's look at where did it come from. But in general, the patterns of thought in our mind are just habits. Sadly, too many people tend to be negative. When you hang around them, you tend to develop the patterns, especially if they were our parents or our family members or our teachers in school or our friends circle. we tend to develop patterns of thought, of speech, of behavior that are those that our parents had, that our family members had. The people you spend the most amount of time with tend to be the people whose patterns you adopt. We also adopt negative patterns of thought as a protective measure. If I know in advance that everything is going to go to hell and nothing is going to work and everything's just going to be a problem and no one can be trusted and everyone's against me, well then, when someone betrays me or something I was trying doesn't work, I can say, ha, wo to mujhe pata tha. I knew it. And it's a defense mechanism. Because if I really trust and I really love and someone betrays me, inevitably there's some hurt. If I really tried something and it didn't work or it wasn't successful, there's some hurt. If I really had hope and faith in something, it was going to work out and it didn't, it hurts. And so a lot of times, just to protect ourselves, we become very negative. I'm not going to trust anyone. I'm not going to believe in anything. I've got no hope, no faith. This whole thing is just a sham show. Nothing matters. Well, that's a very self-protective, in a not functional way, mechanism to say, yeah, well, I'm not upset because wo to mujhe malum tha ki, wo to hai aise, wo to naturally, wo to aise to karegi. Now, it doesn't actually protect us. What it does is it actually ruins every single minute of our life in the illusion that it's going to protect us from the very few moments where something stings. It's actually causing us to be separate, alone, miserable, long before anyone has betrayed us or hurt us, long before something failed, long before something didn't work out. But the ego thinks that it's kind of doing us a favor. But it isn't. It's hurting you. And this is where it's important to say to ourselves, thank you so much. The moment you have another negative thought, you say, thank you so much to the ego. I know you're just trying to protect me. I know you've got my best interest at heart. But you know what? I'd really rather live with an open heart, even if it means I'm going to get hurt sometimes, than to turn my heart into a stone from right now. Because then I'm basically killing myself while I'm alive. I would much rather that sometimes things that are my will don't happen and I have to surrender to a different will. I'd much rather that than that I cut myself off from now, from the incredible exquisiteness of this creation, from the miracles of creation. Because when I stop having faith, I stop being able to enjoy the miracles of creation. What makes a sunset so exquisite, what makes the ocean so deep and profound to watch, or the stars in the sky, is that awareness of our connection to it. But if I'm going to disconnect myself, if I'm going to build a wall of negativity around myself in this false idea of protection, then I'm hurting myself from right now. Somebody else may or may not hurt me at some later date, but I'm already hurting myself right now. So as the negative thoughts arise, just say to the ego, thanks so much for stopping by, but I don't need that type of protection. I'm going to live with a full and open heart. And when things happen that sting, I'm going to see them as opportunities to let my heart stay open, even when it bleeds. And then what you'll notice is these negative thoughts are simply habits. They're habits like people bite their fingernails or crack their knuckles or twirl their hair. Like different people have different habits, right? They don't even know they're doing it. You say to someone, why do you twirl your hair? They say, well, I'm not twirling. I don't twirl my hair. They don't even realize. It's become so unconscious. And the way that these thoughts are is like that. And so first we bring them into consciousness. And then every time you have one, just change it. So if the thought says, oh, she ruined my work. I was doing this great and then she came in and messed everything up. Instead of that, say, wow, I have this great opportunity to rebuild this work in an even better way than I had done before. I was wondering what I was going to do tomorrow. Now I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. Now suddenly my job is laid out for me. Instead of talking negatively to yourself, because we do it to ourselves as well. Again, in this misplaced effort to protect us. If we say to ourselves, you are stupid, you're never going to become anything, you're worthless, nobody likes you, you're going to always fail, your life is a waste. Well then, as I do things that fail, I've got this illusion of not being hurt by that. Whereas actually I'm hurting myself every day. And so when these thoughts arise, just give different thoughts. Choose a different thought. When you've got a thought that says you're worthless, instead say, I am divine. If you've got a thought that says you are stupid, instead say, I am brilliant. Just give yourself different ones. And they don't have to always be the same. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one, this is my thought substitution here. But just realize that you have the ability to determine what you think about. There is not another being in your brain controlling your thoughts. I know we think sometimes there is, but there isn't. It's just our own patterns, our own habits. And we have the ability to change that. But you just have to become aware. Every minute, every moment. Tell the ego, thanks for stopping by, but I got this one. I'm actually going to have faith. I'm going to trust. I'm going to see the beauty. I'm going to see the bounty. And when it's about yourself, say, you know what? I've been hearing your voice a little bit too long. You've made me doubt myself for too long. Thanks for stopping by, but I actually have other plans today. It's like somebody shows up at your house just as you're walking out. Somebody you really don't want to see. Someone you want to see, you say, oh, Cello, I'll be late, come on in, have a cup of tea. But someone you don't want to see, even you weren't planning to leave, suddenly you find yourself with your pocketbook, oh, I was just leaving, I'm so sorry. Cello, fir raja. Do that with the ego. Oh, thanks for stopping by. I was just on my way out. And slowly, slowly, those thoughts will stop having the impact on you.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. Yeah, we try to love our loved ones. We try to be good to our loved ones. But we all make mistakes. We're human. But then they, who are also human, tend to remember those mistakes, sometimes even more than they remember the non-mistakes. And they tend to hold grudges. And what do we do about that? Well, first of all, we try not to be one of those who makes the mistake of holding grudges. When other people harm us, and we know they didn't mean to, we know they didn't wake up in the morning and say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to really hurt him today. I'm going to make his life miserable. We know they didn't do that. So when people hurt us, the first thing we do is we let go and forgive. We don't hold on to it. We understand they're trying their best. But even more than that, we understand our own heart and our own lives and our freedom to not be angry. Our freedom to not hold a grudge, our freedom to not be stuck is much more important than somebody else's mistake. If we lose our freedom, we lose our joy, we lose our peace because someone else made a mistake, what we're saying is your mistake is more important than my freedom. So from our side, we don't hold grudges. We let it go. We let it go. We exhale, we let it go. Because we understand my own heart, my peace, my joy, my connection, my freedom is the most important thing. Everyone else has their own karmic packages, like we have our own karmic package. And in that karmic package, there's ignorance, and there's fear, and there's confusion, and there's desire, and there's anger, and there's all these things. And just like we know we sometimes act out of those, we realize, okay, other people are doing it. Now, it doesn't mean that we allow ourselves to be a doormat, because that's always the next question that comes, is kab tak? Right? If they keep making the same mistake over and over again, kab tak sahn kar lenge? And the answer to that is as long as you want the relationship. Forgiving, letting go, you're going to keep doing that as long as you want the relationship. There certainly may come times in which whatever someone is doing to you is so harmful, and they keep doing it over and over again. You know, when I think about domestic violence. Okay, so that's not something I would suggest that we just keep taking. there are situations where you realize, okay, somebody else, their pain, their anger, their grudge, their confusion is actually harming me to such an extent that I need to not be here. And then we make that choice. But as long as we are making the choice to stay, then you keep making the choice to forgive. But it doesn't make you a doormat. It's not that you're saying, whatever you want to do, I'm going to love and accept it all. What you're saying is, my peace and joy is not dependent on what you do. I may not enjoy what you do. I may not appreciate it. I may not love it. I may not think it's the right way. But I'm just not prepared to sacrifice my own joy and peace on the altar of your confusion or your anger. So it's not a doormat. It's actually a very strong being who is able to forgive and let go, forgive and let go, forgive and let go. So that's the first thing we do, is we model that. We also, of course, try to be as conscious as we possibly can, because the mistakes from our side that harm others, they come when we're not conscious. Now, what is it that removes our consciousness from the moment? When we get way too busy, when we get stressed, when we're distracted. So if you're micro-managing and multitasking 10, 15 different things at once, and a loved one asks you something and you're stressed out and you're not really paying attention, it's very likely that you're going to say something that isn't going to be necessarily the most loving and patient and compassionate thing. And so we make a commitment. I'm going to be conscious. I'm not going to get myself so stressed or so distracted that I'm not able to respond in love and compassion and patience to the people around me. Because just as my freedom is critical, so is my consciousness. And if I'm losing my consciousness, that's making me say things that later I say, well, though, it wasn't me. Pata nahi kya hua mujhko. Wasn't me. Well, the question, of course, then is, who was it? It wasn't your higher self, but it was your unconscious, distracted, or stressed self, or angry self, or drunk self, or whatever it may be that's causing you to do those things. And that's when we then make commitment, okay, I'm going to stop living in such a way that I say things that or do things that later on I have to say, "Jara maaf kijiyega, pata nahi kya hua mujhko." Let us be conscious so that we actually mean what we say. And we say what we mean. We don't have to say, "Oh, wo to mera matlab yahi nahi tha. Mera matlab kuch aur tha." To jo matlab hai wahi kaho. Be conscious about it. And then, if still we've made mistakes and they're not ready to forgive, well, obviously the first thing to do is to try to get them to forgive. Apologize. Say you're sorry. And here's a beautiful lesson. Even if it's actually the other person's fault, say sorry anyway. It ends things so much quicker. People think, well, so then they're going to think I'm very weak. But actually they won't. People understand that the one who's got the ability to say sorry, who actually isn't at fault, but just to maintain peace, that person is actually the strong one. So say sorry. Do something loving for them. Try to make it up to them if you can. And if not, if they really are not ready to hear it, there's nothing you can do. And then you let that go. Sometimes trust takes a little while to rebuild. If you've betrayed someone's trust in a way, it tends to sometimes take a while to rebuild. So be patient. Give them space. Don't get frustrated with them. And just have faith that it'll come back. And just keep loving them.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with Inspiration and Transformation. How do we get inner peace of mind? By letting go of that which is stealing our peace. Lack of peace, stress, restlessness, tension, frustration. It's not something you get from a mosquito bite. You don't get it from bad water or bad food. Doesn't fall on you in the rain. It's all from within. We act like somehow the world around us is responsible for our lack of peace. So frequently we say things like, I was in such a good mood, and then you came home. Or I was feeling so peaceful until you started to talk to me. Why couldn't you have stayed away? Why did you have to say that? Why did you have to do that? You ruined my good mood. You ruined my peace. No. Someone can snatch your handbag or your wallet if you're not paying attention. But no one actually can snatch your peace or your joy. It's not like they can reach in your pocket and get it from within you. It's of the expectations about how other people are going to act, about how the universe is going to behave. And when we let go of that, then our peace of mind stays. When we realize that our peace of mind is threatened, not by the mosquito, not by the water or the food or the rain, but it's threatened by our own egos. It's threatened by our own sense that says, this is what I want, how I want it, when I want it. And when I don't get it, or if I think I'm not going to get it, or if I'm just worried that maybe I won't get it, if it seems like something's happening that I'm not going to get it, we throw our peace of mind into the pot. So that's up to us. Doesn't mean that the universe is going to do what you want. There's no teaching I know of, no scripture I know of, no mantra, shloka, word of God that I know of, in which God says, Be a spiritual person, and everything's going to go your way. Be a spiritual person. No one you love will ever get sick or die. You'll never get fired. No one will ever leave you. No one will ever cheat you or betray you. In fact, the stories of the scriptures so much are the opposite, right? It's the good guys who are always the one getting picked on, getting stolen from, getting pushed around. And they're here, I think, to teach us and remind us that spirituality is not an inoculation against loss or cheating or betrayal or sickness. Doesn't say, oh, chant this many malas of jap every day and the stock market is always going to go in exactly the direction you want it to. Do your meditation. Do abhishek, do yoga, do puja, do seva, do arti, do prayers. And yeah, you're going to become president of that company. Don't worry about it. No one will ever lie to you. No one will ever cheat you. Of course not. They don't go together. People are going to do what people are going to do. What spirituality does is it helps us maintain our peace of mind, regardless of what happens, because spirituality gives us clarity. And we realize my freedom, whether we say moksha, jiva mukti, my peace, my truth, my joy, my bliss, is much more precious than getting everyone around me to say and do what I want them to. If in order to get everyone to behave, I've got to lose my peace because I have to keep yelling at them, keeping them in line, scolding them, punishing them, getting angry, crying, throwing temper tantrums, slamming doors, sulking, giving silent treatment. Right? These are all the things we do. We become aggressive or we become passively aggressive. But in both cases, we've lost. Even if we're just passive aggressive, we're not in peace. And so spirituality gives us the clarity to say that peace is far more important than getting everyone else in line. That peace is far more important than ensuring that everyone else does what I want them to do. That peace is me. And so we choose it. It's very simple. It's not easy. Simple and easy are not the same. It's very simple. And it's not easy just because we've been trained otherwise. It's just like changing a habit. We're so used to getting upset. We're so used to getting frustrated. We're so used to losing ourselves, reacting in certain ways. So it just takes a little while to first change how we prioritize. What is your highest priority? And ask yourself this. What is my highest priority? Is it to get everyone else to do what I want them to do? Or is it to be in peace? What's my highest priority? We spend way too much of our life focused on what other people are doing. You notice it even in satsang. One person moves and 50 heads turn. This is human nature. Right? Satsang chal rahe, ya dhyan chal rahe, ya Ganga ji ki aarti chal rahe. And how quickly we are distracted. And those aren't even the big things. That's not even someone not doing what we want. That's just a random person standing, person sitting, person changing the cross of their legs. But how quickly we voluntarily give up our attention, our awareness. In just a moment, like that. And that's how quickly we give up our peace of mind. It's the same thing. It's automatic. And this is where it's just about making new habits. Laying new sanskaras. I don't have to turn my head every time someone changes the cross of their leg or sneezes or coughs. And in the same way, I don't have to get frustrated or angry or lose myself just because people around me aren't speaking or acting or living the way that I want them to. Just because the universe isn't behaving the way I want it to. It's all about just giving ourselves new habits, new ways of being. A control over the most important organ, muscle of our entire body, which is our mind, our brain. You know, I always say, if I were sitting here in front of you and my arms started flailing all over the place like this, and I said, oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's just my arm. It does that sometimes. You would think, she's got a problem. Right? And then what if I started like, you know, my legs, don't worry about them. Yeah, wo to kabhi kabhi aise karte hai apne aap. Yep, don't worry about it. You'd think, she's got kind of a serious problem. Because we understand that my arms, my hands, my legs, they should be under my control. Jab tak man utne ke liye tayar nahi hai, main nahi utungi. First the mind decides, chalo utne ke time ho gaya, fir main ut jaungi. Not before that. Not because my legs have a mind of their own. When I use my arm, it's because the mind has told it to do something. It's going to pick up a glass of water. It's going to scratch an itch. It's going to write something. The brain, the mind, has told it what to do. And yet, the mind itself, how many of us say to ourselves, ha, mera man to pata nahi kahan jate hain. And we're so used to just accepting that, like it were normal. And just as we know that our arms and our legs have to be under control, we just have to shift our way of understanding. Our mind is also supposed to be under our control. It's not that it just uppity up gets frustrated, angry, restless, stressed. There should be a level of control. I mean, if the mind is running the show, if the mind is telling me what to do with my legs and arms, if the mind is telling me what to do with my money, my life, the hours of my day, but my mind itself I have no control over. My mind itself just does what it pleases, goes where it wants. Well, then we're in kind of a bad situation, don't you think? And that's where getting our mind under control is so critical. Because only then can our legs and our arms and our money and the hours of our day actually be used in a way that's meaningful, not just in a way that's instinctive and impulsive. So if you want peace of mind, just make a commitment. I am not going to give up my peace, my joy, my life, just because of someone else's way of being. I've got control over it. It's practice. Look, if I wanted to play the piano, okay, I'd have to practice. If I decided today, मुझे piano सीखना है, Well, I would have to dedicate some time every day to practicing my scales, doing it. Practice guitar. Learn a sport. Practice singing, learn mantras. Learn painting, learn photography, whatever it may be. I have to dedicate some time to learn how to do these. They're skills. They're just skills we learn. The fingers are ours, but to get them to play Beethoven, not so easy. You'd think, well, they're my fingers. Why wouldn't they do what I wanted them to do? But anyone who's tried to sit down and suddenly play Beethoven understands itna asan nahi hai. You've got to practice. In the same way, like with any muscle of our body, any part of our body that we want to do something other than just flail on its own, we learn. It's how we teach kids, like little kids. We teach them to walk, right? They get up, they waddle, they fall. They get up, they waddle, they fall. But eventually they learn. And in the same way, you'll remember in the very beginning when we did just a very, very, very short centering meditation. I was speaking about if you get distracted, just bring it back. Just bring it back. In the same way, if you find yourself in life suddenly stressed, suddenly frustrated, suddenly angry, suddenly jealous, suddenly in yesterday, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or oh my God, I can't believe I did that, or in tomorrow, kya hoga mujhko? Playing conversations. How many of us do that, right? We have conversations in our head 100 times that never actually happen in real life, but we've practiced them so many times because we think ki aise hoga. But then it doesn't happen. How many hours of our lives have we wasted having conversations in our mind about what we're going to say tomorrow or next week? Every time you notice that you're doing that, just bring the awareness back. Whether you're using your breath, whether you're using a mantra, whether you're using a simple inquiry, who am I? Whether you're looking open-eyed at Ganga, whatever you're focusing on, just bring the mind back to it. Just bring it back. First, you practice in meditation, it's easier. The eyes are closed. Hopefully your surroundings are somewhat quiet. But then the inner noise is on. You'll get distracted, you bring it back. You'll get distracted, you bring it back. You'll get distracted, you bring it back. And what that does is not only does it give you a deep meditation practice, but it trains the brain to do that in your life. So then, even when your eyes aren't closed, you're not in a silent room sitting cross-legged. If you find that you've been distracted, or you find that you've wandered off into yesterday or tomorrow or anxiety or aggression, fear, you just bring the mind back. You just bring it back. You'll get it.
This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time on OMTimes Radio.